It's time now for the KC Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's KC Ingram.
Well, good afternoon. This is Casey, and we're going to try something a little bit new this year. We certainly have our Facebook Live, and Iggy from Impactful Media does such an amazing job. So if you have a question to our guest, go ahead and type it in, and he'll be selecting a few of the questions as long as they are appropriate to the conversation. So type them in, and we'll see if we can get that question answered. So we'll start out here. We are partially sponsored by Meridian Marina and Yacht Club. Are you tired of lines at the boat launch, sun damage, or not using your boat because of the hassle? Call Meridian Marina and Yacht Club because we do all the work so you can enjoy your boating lifestyle. We store your boat inside, launch it with a wash with just 30 minutes notice, and rinse it down before putting it back. Need new electronics, service, detailing, bottom paint? No problem. Our experienced certified techs will make sure your boat is in tip-top shape and ready to head to the sandbar, fishing, or the Bahamas. Call us up at 772-221-8198. 221-8198, or visit us online at meridianmarina.com. So the guest in the studio today, I'm very excited to have. We have, of course, a fairly new appointed city manager, but somebody who knows our city better than most around here. And we have, can't call you chief anymore, but it's a habit, Chief David Dias. We have David Dias, the City of Stuart manager. So how are you doing this evening, David?
Good. Thank you for having me, Casey.
Well,
I appreciate it.
I absolutely am excited to have this interview. So let's start a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background for those that don't know.
Well, first I want to say this. I woke up this morning, I started losing my voice. So if my voice cracks or my voice goes out, it's either because you asked a really hard question or because I really lost my voice. So I was born in Pahokee, and we moved to Stuart before I was a year old. And I grew up in the city limits, right over off of Manor Drive, and have been here my entire life. Parker Elementary, Stuart Middle, Martin County High School, and started with the police department in 1990, pretty fresh right out of high school.
Okay.
Had some odd jobs after high school, and came up through the ranks with the police department. I've been here 28 years working for the city.
So what made you take the leap from chief of police to city manager?
Being the police chief is definitely it's a rewarding, and I've always wanted to be a cop ever since I was a kid. So I was able to fulfill my lifetime dream by doing that. And I've been doing it now for about 6 years. And when this opportunity came up, I was actually starting to scout for other police chief jobs and things of that nature, just for the retirement situation that I was in. And when this position came up, I gave it some thought, and there were some city commissioners who had talked to me about it, past and present commissioners. And so when I started putting more interest in it, more thought into it, I thought, what a better way to serve the city that I grew up in and to still remain a part of the community and not have to go somewhere else and continue to do public service in a different way than
Right.
law enforcement. So I jumped in with both feet, and frankly, I'm very excited that I did. I'm been very happy and very pleased.
David Dias, everybody has, and I can say that for certain. And interestingly enough, Paul Nicoletti was one of the people that recommended you for chief of police, right?
Yes.
And of course, he was the previous city manager too before you. And I know that you had a lot of respect for each other. So it's interesting now that you have his position, because in the interim, we had some turmoil. There was a city manager that was brought in from out of the area, and it really just didn't work out. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But you stepped in after he left, became the interim city manager, and now you've been confirmed. So
Yep. Very pleased.
It's absolutely wonderful. So let's talk about some city stuff.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's start out with the beautification project that's happened downtown. I've seen some letters that have come in over, in the newspaper that not everybody's totally excited about it. So what's the city's view on that now? Are we going to continue with blue wave sidewalks, or are we going to maybe try to change some of the landscaping?
There was a lot of, when I came into the position, the plans were already set. It was already in motion. Construction was
Right.
already going on. And I understand, although I love the oak trees, I understand the philosophy behind the removal of them. I actually walked down there during construction and took pictures of the oak roots actually tearing into the utilities lines and so forth. So I understand the crux behind it. Removing the oak trees, I do think, contributes to removing kind of that historic Old Town feel you kind of got down there. And originally there were, when I came into place, there were the queen crepe myrtles, which are on Osceola, were planned for all of downtown. And so the criticism started rolling in. My phone was ringing off the hook, emails and everything else. And so we took a look at it and made a decision during the construction phase. Osceola was already, Flagler was already pretty much done. So we made the decision to make some changes on Flagler to palm trees. And so those changes were done. And at that point, the criticism still rolled, and I made the decision to just let's get the project finished and let's get through the season because winter was approaching us.
Right.
And we'll reevaluate in the summer after the season's over and see what needs to be done. I do, we have 2 of those queen crepe myrtles in Memorial Park. So I've seen them when they're blooming and they're beautiful. They take a long time to get to that size though. And during the winter, which is our season,
right,
they kind of go a little dormant.
Right.
So it, it's great for summer, but most of our people here in the winter. So
during the season, that's right.
Kind of need to reevaluate what's going on down there. And I know the Blue Wave stuff got some criticism, and issues we'll have to tackle as time moves forward.
That's right. It's one of those issues that it's one of those things that people don't really notice it or speak about it until it's there and they see it.
Yeah.
And that's when you start to hear about people. So it's a tough thing to handle, I'm certain, but glad that you're evaluating it. And I'm sure there's a lot of residents that are happy in both ways. So, and if you like the way it looks downtown, got to let you know that as well.
I wish they would, because I only hear the other side.
Okay. So it's important both sides let you know their feelings. So what about Costco? That's a wonderful story there that Costco was looking to build out in Palm City, ended up kind of throwing the towel in on that. There was some opposition. They were having a lot of issues with the county. So now they came to the city of Stuart. They're looking to build on Canner just south of the high school.
Yeah.
So what's the status of Costco?
So Costco requested to continue their LPA meeting and did not request a future date. They asked to continue it indefinitely. And I don't necessarily think that Costco is out of the picture. I think they're probably reevaluating the site and any other surrounding sites. And I don't think it had anything to do with opposition. I do know that they've been working diligently for many months on the particular site that they looked at. But things come up in people's business plans where if the finances don't work, you have to explore what else is out there. And so I think that's what Costco's doing. And they specifically asked to keep their permit application in the process and not close it. So that to me says they're not gone.
That's right. That's right. They're definitely still considering this site location. So Costco's an interesting store. What I understood when they were looking in Palm City is their jobs start at $15 an hour. So that's pretty good for the area. It's a wonderful starting salary.
It is a good
wage
boost. When people say, again, a lot of negative emails come in. And when people talk about, it's the wrong spot for Costco, or, there's going to be increased traffic. Well, the roadway is going to a 6-lane roadway there. It is a mix of commercial, and most residential is off the road. There's sideways entrance off there. I live off Canner Highway, so I know what the traffic is. I drive by it every single day to and from work. And I just think that the benefit of, like you said, the jobs, what the value is that a company like that would bring to our community outweighs the issues, any other issues that have been mentioned to me.
It is. Well, I hope they continue to consider the Stuart location and wish you all well there. I know that, one thing you hear through the grapevine is, the city is so much easier to work with than the county. So, we'll see how this all works out, but I'm sure that's why they reevaluated and even came back for the Canner site. So, it's good news.
Hopefully no from the county listen to that.
Well, it is what it is. The county knows. We just want Costco somewhere. So,
right.
How about the sailfish ball fields?
So another contentious subject. I might go horse on this one.
Yeah, really.
So that's been tabled until the first meeting in March, when it'll come back before the commission again. There's been a lot said about that. It's really given me the opportunity, and I have a child that we took in plays baseball, so I'm intricately familiar with the baseball organization and what goes on there, and have friends within the baseball community. And so I kind of get all sides of the story. and I've had the opportunity to evaluate, our financials, baseball's financials, the situation, the impact of bringing in a developer to develop those fields. And, my feeling still is, because I see the 10th Street Center, the Guy Davis Center over there, and what potential it has to be the central athletics, recreation, academic facility for youth for our city, that so much more could be done there. And I've already created an athletics coordinator's position over there. And since I've done that, and we were changing our policy for athletics and field usage to go more in line with other governments like Martin County and Port St. Lucie and some of the other surrounding ones, to bring in more recreational athletic activities. We've had a ton of interest from football. I think we've actually brought in a Pop Warner football team back to that field, lacrosse, soccer, all kinds of different activities
Wonderful.
For those fields. And so there's still quite a bit of property there that could be utilized. And that park, I think, could be a park for, athletic and recreation organizations to desire to go to eventually.
Right.
And so my desire is to present a plan, whether that includes additional baseball fields or new baseball fields there or not. There's other components to that plan for the city commission and the CRA, because it is in the CRA, to hopefully develop that location into a desired location, multicultural location for everyone
Right.
within our city.
And it would be wonderful to have a multicultural location. That's something
Yes.
that is a draw that is needed here. So that's a
Yeah.
really good plan. On the flip side of that, part of the reason that they were looking at redevelopment is our lack of housing, and
Yes.
especially low housing costs that are available. So what strategies moving forward do you see the city using to try and address that issue?
Well, I don't know if the baseball fields completely off the table or not. I'll find that out in March. Even if that is off the field, I don't know what the commission's intention is going to be with those fields in the future. But housing, the city we're only 6.5 square miles. We have over a mile, about 1.1 miles of preserve and green space, conservation space within our location. So redevelopment is now becoming important to us. We used to receive annexations from vacant lands because it is, easier to develop here, but we're kind of running out of those vacant lands around our borders.
Right.
So redevelopment now becomes important. And as we're looking at those redevelopment options, I think housing becomes one of those priorities. We've always kind of been business centric, and business is important. It makes up, I think, 40% of our tax revenue, about 20% of our what our properties are. But the residential and bringing in citizens to utilize those businesses and utilize our other many facilities we have here and enjoying our downtown is important. And so through redevelopment and on those small pieces of property that we still have left around us, to look at density locations for those pieces of property.
Okay. Certainly an important topic that's
Yes.
not going to go away anytime
No.
soon. A couple other questions here. Is there any intention to have golf cart access for downtown?
Downtown actually is already a golf cart friendly area. There's an ordinance passed. Paul Nicoletti spearheaded that and was a big time proponent of that. And as a police chief at the time, I was kind of against it because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to work golf cart accidents. But it didn't happen, obviously. There are a few people who have taken advantage of it. You have to register your golf cart at the police department. I think they have a handful of registrations, maybe 5 to 10. We are looking at putting in golf cart parking locations on the back street, which would be Seminole. Seminole's looking at going through like a remake back in there. And so we're looking at putting in specific golf cart parking spots there, but it is currently golf cart friendly. You can pick up a pamphlet at the police department or at City Hall that tells you or explains to you where you can and can't ride your golf cart to get to downtown, because you can't go across federal highway, state highways, that kind of thing. So there are some restrictions, but many areas within the city do have access if you just get that brochure and see how to get to there.
Okay. And get your golf cart registered.
Yes.
What is your goals for the city? What's your future expectations as city manager for the city of Stewart?
Well, one of the big things that I am always been a proponent of, and when I was in police department, everything is kind, quality customer service. And I was kind of joking in my first staff meeting with the staff and told them I wanted them to be Chick-fil-A-ish, and it, it I really mean that from
Oh, the customer service there is amazing. They're always
yeah.
so friendly and accommodating.
And I just want that. I want that to continue on all levels, and it's very important from the person in the development department out to the firemen, putting out the fire. So I hope that's one thing that we can continue. I know we've always had good customer service, but I want that to continue and expand on that. I want to see us. Hopefully, we've been recovering from the recession, but we're not back to where we were. And I want to start taking on some of those responsibilities again. I already talked about the athletic piece of it, and bringing back those services that we eliminated, and for good reason. I mean, we had to financially do
cut
that
it somewhere. That's right.
But as the economy recovers, I think that there's a demand for some of those services that we should be putting back into place. I mean, when you think of a city, it's a live, work, play environment, and we should be providing all three of those environments to the best of our abilities.
Absolutely. How do you envision the downtown, similar to what it is now, or do you want to bring in, more work and play in one area?
I do think like, the new apartments that are going up there, there's some new condominium developments going in downtown. And I do think combining that live area, I mean, there's very little live in downtown
Right.
now. So being able to combine that live in closer proximity to downtown, I think is going to be essential. I think it's actually going to be good for the business in downtown during the summer.
Right.
'Cause allow
It's a
easy
big
walkable
difference.
access.
Right.
So
I agree. It's such a wonderful downtown, and it's just beautiful, and you feel safe here too. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Here we are in Martin County, so to be able to expand on that experience and help those businesses out during the slower times in the summer would be fabulous.
yeah, I'd like to see it grow some. I mean, the Colorado project again got a lot of criticism, but has really created some redevelopment down throughout the
has.
Colorado block. So I'd like to see downtown, the core of downtown, grow a little east or west of where it currently is to, get some more retail type environment in there.
Absolutely. That would be absolutely wonderful. Completely supportive of that. What about the city's focus on the St. Lucie River, our water issues? I know the city has always been very focused on making the water as clean as possible, and really has done a lot with the sewer system.
Yeah.
Commissioner Troy McDonald's been in here before and talk about the baffle system they have to keep debris from going into the river. So where are we standing now? I know we have a new commission. Let me say that real quick. We had basically 3 new commissioners. Mayor Bruner now was a year ago, and we had 2 new commissioners come in this past November. So it's kind of a new commission, a little bit old, a little new, which I think is a wonderful mix.
Yeah.
So where's the focus now?
So yeah, Commissioner Matheson and Commissioner Meyer are 2 newest commissioners, and they are, I'll say, very environmentally focused. And even before them coming on, during the summer when we were having a lot of the blooms and so forth, again, we were catching a lot of flack, and I took the initiative of an informational campaign because we were getting emails and phone calls, and why is the steward allowing this, and a lot of people don't understand our size, and they think that the locks are in the city of Stewart because that has Stewart addresses down there.
Right.
And so I, had to purposely answer each one of those emails with, we have no privy over the locks at all. It's not even in our jurisdiction. We don't even start until Indian Street. So it's important to try to get that message across as to where the city's actual geographic boundaries are, and also to emphasize what the things are that we've done to try to combat the pollution in the river, like you mentioned, septic sewer, even the baffle box things. We completed our BMAP requirements, our daily maximum load requirements, in the very first year to reduce those. The creation of the Haney Creek project in conjunction with the county was a great project. Over 53 plus acres of water now that's being filtered and stored, and before it ever enters the river. So there's a lot of things that the city, again, a small 6.5 square mile city, is doing to try to make a difference.
It is right on the river, and certainly the city's greatly impacted, as anybody on the river is, but the city really always has been on the forefront of trying to fight the pollution that comes down the river, and glad to hear that continues.
before we leave that subject
Sure.
real quick, I just want to touch on, the current commission designated us in this budget cycle to allocate a specific fund, just a one-time fund to address some additional issues. And as a result of that, they eliminated city staff usage of anything with glyphosate in it, and so there was a financial cost to that to get more expensive product, and to address our herbicide control, and also to look at whatever we could do, whether it's partnering with other agencies, or using that fund to create monitoring stations. We were involved with the county again with some of that money they got through the grant to try to do some algae mitigation. And so we brought in one particular idea that the county graciously let us jump in on, and we put that at the entrance to Shepherd's Park. And so we're definitely doing a lot to try to look and do what we can to resolve.
That's very good news. Very good news. Let's move on to another hot topic in the area, and that, of course, is Brightline Virgin trains. Recently, the commissioners, and I believe yourself, took a ride on the train.
Yep.
And it was a nice experience. I think you went down to Miami and back.
Yeah.
And let's ask, what's the chances of having a station here?
They're pretty tight-lipped about that. So I don't know when they'll make that decision on where they're going to put their station at. It's still, even if they, get their financing or sell their bonds, it's still probably 3 years off. They have to build the double tracks and so forth. So during that process, when they're going to make their decision, it's pretty much anybody's guess. I mean, what happened with we put out this survey deal to try to find out from the community, and the question was, if Brightline is coming, regardless, would you want a station, or should Stewart's have a station? And it was 60-something%, 67% or something like that. That yeah, if they're coming through, you might as well have a station. And our commission, I have not heard. I take the stance, and I'm hoping they take the stance that we're not funding that. I mean, we're not going to pay for the station. It's a private enterprise, and if they build the station, then that's great.
It's part of their infrastructure.
Right. It's coming from their pocket and not our taxpayers' pocket.
Right. That sounds good. And speaking of Brightline and Virgin Train, next week I'm going to have a financial expert on, especially with the bonds, that has went thoroughly through the SEC filing for Brightline Virgin Trains, and he's going to be joining me via phone, and we're going to talk about the financing of Brightline and Virgin Trains. And his name is Mark Moeller, and financing is that's been the big hiccup for this company all along, is they have not obtained financing. So we'll talk a little more about that next week.
Right.
So David, finishing up here, just tell me one little story. What was maybe something that was funny or surprising as you came into your new position as city manager? Put you on the spot here.
Yeah, that's a good one. Funny or surprising? I would have to say probably people's priorities. And what I mean by that is, coming from a law enforcement background, if there's a bad situation, a shooting, a murder, or something like that, it's a hot topic for about 2 weeks. You take a tree out of someplace, and it's a hot topic for about 3 months. So it's definitely
that could start the petitions too.
Yes. It's definitely an eye-opening experience that I wasn't expecting, and I thought I had thick skin coming from that spot, but I guess I'm gonna have to have thicker skin.
It's a whole new kind of thick skin.
It is
so.
definitely
New problems, but good ones all nonetheless. So, David Dias, City of Stewart manager, thank you and congratulations on the new job. We're very excited. I can't imagine anybody better in this position, and you know the city so well. So, thank you, and I hope we have you back to do some updates now and again.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Thank you, David.